Manchester United will hold talks with Paul Pogba over fears the midfielder is about to run down his contract. The talks are set to take place after the Euros and are likely to focus on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans to bridge the gap with City and the rest of Europe. Fabrizio Romano has said that he feels it may not be a matter of days and it will take some time to complete, but for sure Manchester United are interested in Sancho and working hard to get him. And reportedly, Manchester United are in advanced talks to sign £38 million rated Argentinian defender Cristian Romero. All that and much more on the Football Terrace. Plus, we are joined by football royalty. Luke Chadwick is in the house with us tonight. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Here we go. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in. Lots of news circulating today. We're going to go through it all with you in relation to Manchester United. Of course, we'll cover any breaking news, breaking information that comes out. Later on this evening, we've got episode 1 of a brand new show on the Football Terrace called The Done Deal. We're joined by leading sports journalist, Tier 1 journalist Dean Jones. Some amazing information to come out tonight. That we will save for that show. Very excited about it indeed. If you're a Chelsea fan, if you're a Tottenham fan, Arsenal fan, United fan, City fan, make sure you're tuning in. That'll be around 9 p.m. tonight. Later on in the show, we've got none other than one of the funniest guys on socials, Premier League winner, ex-Manchester United player Luke Chadwick, on with us to have his say and talk through what's going on as well. But there's lots of stories, as I say, circulating today. The first is in relation to Paul Pogba and his proposed new deal. It says Man United will talk with Paul Pogba over fears the midfielder will run down his contract. The talks are set to take place after the Euros and are likely to focus on Solskjaer's plans to bridge the gap with City and the rest of Europe. Man United are going to be offering him a new deal. That is going to happen. United want to get it done sooner rather than later. Of course, the Euros are a slight stumbling block in that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United want to keep Paul Pogba. But of course, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. Paul's at a very interesting stage in his career whereby he has to think long and hard about where he wants to be. He's basically got one more contract, one more big contract left in his career in relation to wanting to win things. Still doesn't have a Champions League to his name. He's got domestic trophies, domestic leagues, World Cups. He'd probably have a Euros by the end of the summer, but that Champions League is still, of course, very much been unattainable so far for him. So Man United are going to have to convince Paul Pogba after the Euros as to whether or not to stay. United, of course, have fears that he may run that contract down. One of the reasons that you're not going to see Man United maybe commit to a new midfielder just yet is because they're waiting to see what happens with Paul Pogba. Could they look at a Basuma level? And I'm talking Basuma-esque, Basuma price player. If Paul Pogba's staying, yes. They may need to look further afield. There are some big name options that may come available after the Euros, including Marco Verratti at Paris Saint-Germain. So Man United are trying to keep their powder dry as best they can in this scenario. They don't have the money to spend more than 40, maybe 50 million a push on a midfielder. The money just isn't there. But the future of Paul Pogba will play a massive part in that. There are other reports that Pogba may be used as a make weight in a Cristiano Ronaldo deal. But remember, when it comes to swap deals, as they're referred to, swap deals don't really happen. From a legal standpoint, they're very, very difficult to contract and draft. So there could be two standalone deals done side by side. It will be proposed as a swap deal, but in reality, it won't be. I myself am not overtly convinced by that. Where this story keeps, because you're going to lose Pogba and sign a striker and not somebody else in midfield. That doesn't quite seem right to me in terms of planning, although Man United are still looking for another striker. I want your views and I want your opinions on that. By the way, Luke Chadwick will be with us around 5:25. He'll be here, so in about 20 minutes time. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you've hit that like button right now, please, my wonderful, wonderful audience. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet. Please hit that like button as well. In terms of Raphael Varane, also, interesting news today to come out via Sports Witness, the United plug here, putting this out this afternoon, saying that Real Madrid have offered Varane, we knew this yesterday, 9 million euros a year and are refusing to go above that. Whereas he believes he deserves a similar wage to David Alaba on 10 to 11 million. That's the interesting point here. You've got a 4 times Champions League winning Real Madrid defender, World Cup winning defender, being offered between 1 million to 2 million less a year net than a brand new signing, David Alaba. You can understand why Rafael Varane feels slightly disrespected in some regard by Real Madrid. Man United consider him a priority and are willing to offer 12 million euros a year to try and get this deal done. Now, that for me it's an astonishing offer. It's a lot of money to put forward. But for the quality of defender Rafael Varane is, I don't think a single Manchester United fan would mind that. The fact you can pick him up for about £40 million, there's no sell-on value, but you're not buying Rafael Varane to sell him on in the future. You're looking to buy an established star in his late 20s for the next 4 to 5 years. It will definitely be, you don't invest that amount of money into a player and not give him a 5-year deal. Players want to protect, clubs want to protect their assets as best they can from a business standpoint. But 12 million a year has been offered. Reports right now suggest that Rafael Varane will turn down this latest Real Madrid offer. But do you think, as viewers, that Manchester United can pull this deal off, get this deal done, and be able to motor things forward? There is another centre-back linked with Manchester United, and we spoke about it in the build-up to the show, Cristian Romero. Now, it has been denounced. It has been debunked this afternoon by Fabrizio Romano that says Romero's camp are denying any proposal from Man United. Atalanta are denying any contact and that they've received any bid. There's nothing serious or advanced going on between Manchester United and Cristian Romero at this moment in time. So the word is ignore all reports that suggest that Man United are close to submitting a bid or looking at Cristian Romero. Hello. Let me come show us. Come show us. What have you done? Let me see. Bring Daddy. You got your bag on your back. Hello. Let me see this lovely picture. Oh, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This has been made by Lady Freya. Look at that. That is what is it?
For me.
I know it's for you. Do you want to say hello to everyone? No. No, okay. Well, you go put that back in the kitchen and I'll come see you when I'm finished working, okay? Love you.
It's a bit dark.
It is a bit dark in here, isn't it? But you be careful on them wires and I'll see you in a little while. Love you. Love you. Thank you for loving me too. Close that door behind you, though, and watch your brother's fingers. Don't catch his fingers in the door. You going to close it for me? Yeah, that big slam. She slammed it. There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, it's good. That's not bad for a 2-year-old, Give us some credit there. So, where were we? Yeah, so Cristian Romero to Manchester United appears to be fake news right now. No real credibility to it at all, as it stands. In relation to other Manchester United news, of course, every moment of every day, Jadon Sancho is on everybody's minds. There was big reports yesterday that the deal was moving forward. The Dortmund press have said he's set to be sold. That is true. It's about when now. And the more people you speak to, we've got a big update coming later on the show. Later on the channel tonight on the Done Deal show in relation to this. But what Fabrizio has said this afternoon is that my feeling is that it is not just a matter of days. It will take some time to complete a deal, but for sure, Man United are interested. We know this and are working around him. Man United hope, it goes on to say, Man United hope to complete the agreement on personal terms with Sancho soon. At the moment, though, there are no negotiations with Borussia Dortmund and there have been no official bids. I wouldn't panic about this. The personal terms are going to be absolutely fine. We know this already. But in relation to the no official bid and no negotiations with Borussia Dortmund, some more about this is coming up on the show a little bit later. The Done Deal show this afternoon. That's very, very normal now when it comes to football clubs to be in this position. Football clubs love to protect themselves. So Man United have been talking to intermediaries and they will not submit an official bid until they know it's going to be accepted. So at this moment in time, There's nothing false about that claim that there's been no direct negotiations and no official bid has come in. But at the same time, it doesn't mean the deal isn't being worked on. As an example, it hasn't changed from where it was the other day. Payment structures are being looked at right now. The initial down payment and over how many installments there will be in payments in relation to the next over the next 4 to 5 years. Let's go to a super chat that came in here. £100 for the painting, Terry. Listen, I don't know if Freya will accept it. I can ask her. It's her painting. But there we go. Freya better than that clown Southgate. Do you know, for a second I misread that and thought you'd calling my daughter a clown. I was about to switch, bruv. Straight up. But then I read it properly. Okay. That's a bit weird, bruv. You want to calm yourself down a bit, mate. Maybe go and take a breather for 5 minutes. Slow yourself down when you're chatting about my daughter. All right? Seriously. Freya is clear. I hear you on that. She is. She's great. She is great. So I want some of your views and some of your opinions on these transfer deals that are being spoken about. The Pogba new deal. Do you think he's going to stay at Manchester United? Can you see that happening first and foremost? The second element, we know about Jadon Sancho. We've had the opinions on that. Raphael Varane is the one I want to focus on. We keep getting linked to these other centre-backs. Jules Koundé looks like he's now going to be going to Real Madrid. They've kind of come out of nowhere, really, and really gone in hard for him. And that's where he looks like he's set to go. Pau Torres, been no real talks between Man United and his camp. All the Romero news is fake. There's nothing credible in that at all at this moment in time. So Raphael Varane, we have offered him a €12 million a year contract. That translates into what? About 10.5 to 11 million pounds. Can you see that deal happening? Can you see that deal going through? I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. I want your opinions. Get your super chat questions in as well. When Luke is on early, we're going to be going through all these things with Luke Chadwick, talking a little bit about Man United, looking ahead to the Euros for England as well. But get your super chat questions in for Luke also, because I do want to, pose them to him traditional football terrorist style as well. Let's do some of these. Let's do some of these comments that are coming in here from all of you. No, I'm not. But, well, if you chat about my daughter, yeah, of course. I think it's illegal for me not to. Raphael Varane, and this is an interesting take from JJ. Raphael Varane playing Man United to get a better contract from Real Madrid. I totally understand and accept that view. How people will think that, why people would think that in relation to that being the deal that potentially gets done. I totally get why people would think and feel that. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Let's do some more of these comments here. We've got a super chat that says, what will be a good fit for Chelsea, Hakimi or Traore? Hakimi is the better player. Traore is the better option, because I don't think Hakimi would be willing to sit on the bench as regularly as I think he would have to, because Reece James is better. Reece James is better than Hakimi. So I think Traore would be happy to be a bit player at a club like Chelsea, as opposed to Hakimi that's 2 years, 2 or 3 years running now. He's been instrumental in leading teams in respective leagues that he's played in. Suddenly become a bench player is an interesting one for me. What do you think of Liverpool's reported budget? I haven't seen that. I actually spoke about budgets today on the show, funnily enough. Maybe I did that off camera or on camera. I get confused. We sometimes talk before, during, and after shooting, and I can't quite remember which we did. But remember, the budget will change depending on sales and who you sell, because of wages and all sorts as well. I haven't seen it. Let me know what it is, and I'll give you my thoughts. Terry, Hakimi is a much better baller. I don't like the term baller anymore. I'm getting put off by it. For me, Reece James has just defensively and on an offensive level performed amazingly well under a top-class manager and won a Champions League to boot. So quality play, won a Champions League. If Chelsea would have had Thomas Tuchel all season, I've got no doubt in my mind that they would have won the Premier League as well. And Reece James would have been a massive part of that. Hakimi's amazing, but I think Reece James is better and will go on to be a better player. That's my view. CJ here says, even if Varane only cost United 45 million, if he's given a 5-year contract worth 12 million a year, it would cost over 110 mil. Absolutely, but that's how all deals are structured. Every single deal is like that. Legitimately, every single deal is structured in that way. So if you add anybody's salary, it does this now. Now, the cheaper you sign a player for, generally, the more they demand in wages. The agents do that. I actually was in a meeting today with one of the... So our tactics videos on the terrace, we're going to be partnering with a very big and popular company soon that are going to be helping us to make them. So they're going to be going up a level. They're so popular that Premier League clubs and agents reach out to them on a regular basis to do cross comparisons. And this is my player. This is the position he's in. Can you run cross comparisons across, against other people in world football to help me negotiate a new deal or to help me find him a new club, blah, blah, blah. And agents will always push for higher salary if the fee's low. If the fee's low because they're a free agent or they've got 1 year left on their contract or something along those lines. So it's irrespective. But if you add everybody's salary into the transfers, they're worth a lot more money. So if you think about, if we look at the fact that, you might sign a player for 30 million, it's looked at as a bargain. But if over the next 6 years, on average, you're paying them 11, 12 million a year, same difference. Suddenly it's 120 million pound investment. But that's actually the right way to look at it, because clubs don't have war chests or transfer budgets per se. They have a percentage of their turnover that they're able to commit to player transactions, essentially, player expenses. So if you sign a player for 40 million, but you've got to pay him an extra 5 million a year, that 5 million a year salary eats into the rest of your transfer budget because it's taken away some of your income. It's using up some of the turnover and the income as a business. So they kind of work hand in glove with one another, but it is a big investment. But he's one of the best centre-backs in the world. So is it worth it? Absolutely. We pay, if you think about this now, I'm not too sure how much it works out a year. Let's have a little look at this now. I'm going to work this out. So a year right now, Manchester United right now, I put the wrong details in. 50 times by 52. Man United currently pay £4.5 million a year to Phil Jones. If you put that over a 5-year contract, that costs £22 million. Would you pay, like when you think about it out loud, would you pay £22 million for a Phil Jones? We are. He costs us that, right? So that's a Phil Jones level defender. So imagine having a world-class defender. You'd pay £22 million. If you work out, like if you look at Hakimi, say he costs 110 mil, right? Over 5 years. Let's work this out. So it's cost, let's just work this out now. Divide it by the 5 years that he might be here. It's £22 million. Would you pay £22 million a summer to have a world-class centre-back? Of course you would. If right now someone said you can get one of the best centre-backs in the world for 22 million quid, you'd say yes. That's all it's going to cost when you break it down to reality. Yusuf here says, it doesn't matter who we sign as long as Ollie is in charge. We are doomed. How many people agree with Yusuf there and his view on things? I would love to know. Phil Jones is on 5.2 million a year. Okay, well, I read somewhere slightly less than that, but there we go. That makes it even worse, doesn't it? So it costs you 25 million over that period in time. Jack Eden, if you're not happy, my bro, then go watch somewhere else. Love it. Hit that like button, my wonderful viewers and people. Absolutely. Make sure you hit that like button. Annie says spot on, Yusuf. And by the way, Annie, I saw your apology. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing it. Let's do some comments here. Let's go look with some of these comments that are coming through. I don't agree is what Melvin says. You don't agree. Oh, you don't agree with Yusuf. and lots of people won't. Some people do, some people don't. That's the way it is. Thank you, Josh. Hope you're well. The studio space is coming along nicely. I'm actually in London tomorrow. The soundproofing's being done and a few other bits and pieces like that. So hopefully in the next week or so, that'll be done. I'll have some behind the scenes pictures for you all tomorrow. We're getting very close now to really starting to get produced and get made. A lot of the new content that's coming to the Football Terrace. It's just a process really that we've got to go through to get these things done. So thank you. Slens, big movements with the journalist interviews. Thank you, Slens. And, hopefully we're going to have a few more to come. We're working on some deals with a couple of other people, plus, reaching out and speaking to people. And hopefully Chris Wheatley is going to be on the terrace pretty soon. We had Christophe Torreira on this week as well. We've got more stuff coming up with Said Walid in the future, who's one of the leading sports agents out there. And, like tonight, we've got Luke Chadwick on tonight, and there's a few other ex-pros in the pipeline as well. And we're going to keep it all hush-hush. We're really kind of hot, like a lot of new things to come. So, yeah, thank you very much, Lenz. I appreciate that, my guy, and you saying and doing that. So have you any news about Bernardo Silva and the Suarez swap deal? Only what I've seen in the media, nothing from me, only what I've seen in the media, but a big update coming later on relating to Manchester City. So around 9 p.m., the Done Deal show is going to be out. So please make sure you are tuning in for that. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for that to come out and for you to see it all. Terry, Rashford or Sancho? Don't ask me questions. Let's ask me who I love the most out of Archie, Frere, and Jackson. I can't do it. I will not speak. I will not speak on that matter. I know we don't have it in this country, but I'm pleading the fifth. I'm pleading the fifth on that one. 110%. 110%. Man like Pav in the house here says, how are you doing, Terry? Hope you're having a good day. Who would be a realistic centre-back target if we can't get Varane? It depends on if we sell anybody. But for me, I think Jules Koundé looks more and more likely to be going towards he looks like he's more and more likely going to be going towards Real Madrid. I think Pau Torres could still be an option as an example. Whether or not anything would be, would reignite with Romero at Atlanta, I don't know. But for me right now, it does appear Man United are prioritizing Rafael Varane. So we will see. But I'm basing that. Nothing I know. I don't have any contacts. I'm strictly speaking in relation to what I'm seeing from some of the tier one journalists out there. But ladies and gentlemen, we are now joined by Luke. I have to say, I'm getting a bit excited. As a Man United fan, I grew up watching Luke play. So I'm going to try and be professional here because this is now my job. I gave up a normal job to do this full time. Luke Chadwick's in the house with us now. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for that intro. I don't get that sort of build up very often. So much appreciated, Terry.
It's all right. Do you know what? You could have come on as a sub and had 1 minute on the field of play. If you're a Man United player, you're a Man United player as far as I'm concerned. And my view is this. You have one more Premier League medal than Steven Gerrard. So you're a legend, mate. So it's all good. How are things your end?
Yeah, all good, mate. Enjoying this lovely sunshine. So can't complain at the moment. Enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been very, very, very nice. And you never know when it's going to change. With the Euro starting as well, hopefully the hot weather will remain. A few good nights to have a beer and watch some good football over the next few weeks.
Yeah, really excited about the Euros. Got my New England top delivered the other day, one of them retro blue ones. So I'm buzzing with that. Looking forward to sticking that on for the first game on Sunday.
Yes, Sunday it comes, and Scotland just on the horizon as well. That's always the last time we played them, Euro 96. I remember watching that, and yeah, hopefully it's as epic and memorable as that game.
Yeah, hopefully. Obviously, the squad's looking good. The two warm-up games were maybe a little bit flat, which they always are, really. But the whole squad's together now. Even Foden's getting his Barnet done like Gaza, I see in the paper today. So hopefully he'll be able to perform like him, particularly against Scotland next week. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about haircuts, and it's being spoken about on socials today. And I love seeing it. Whether it was David Beckham, of course, you played with his haircuts. Paul Pogba is famous for having amazing haircuts, and I love seeing players do it and sort of spruce themselves up. And it's all good. It's all good. So
yeah, I think.
Sorry, go on.
I think it's just that personality, isn't it? Showing the personality. Obviously, David Beckham, who you spoke about there, was a real trailblazer some years ago now. And then there's like the likes of Pogba, Foden doing it for this tournament. It's always nice to see people's character come out, particularly on the big stage now where it don't get much bigger than the Euros.
Absolutely. When you played, who were those characters? You know, the extroverts, the ones that really put their character out in, whether it be their boots, their haircuts, their fashion. Who are the players like that in your era that you remember being kind of extroverted like that?
I think obviously Beckham was the one, obviously growing up, watching him play and then being in the same team for him for a period of time. He was quite a quiet lad, really, but obviously showed his character on the pitch, and he loved to stand out with the haircuts, the football boots, obviously wearing that sarong or whatever it was that time, which was a little bit out there. I think the big characters in the team that I played in were Roy Keane in terms of vocally, Gary Neville, that sort of person, Peter Schmeichel, who I watched as an apprentice growing up. They were the ones that were the big characters vocally. But then there were the likes of Paul Scholes, who was, again, quite a quiet guy, but done his talking with a ball at his feet. He was an absolute genius. Ryan Giggs as well, another sort of player who's quite not as vocal as the others that I spoke about, but were real leaders in terms of what they done on the football pitch with their standards day in, day out, really.
Yeah, no, I you know, as you said all their names, that was my childhood, watching them play, and just Man United being so great. And obviously things are not so, they're not so bright at the club at this moment in time. You know, it isn't where Arsenal and some other clubs find themselves, but it hasn't been so brilliant. And of course, someone you played with was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's, you know, under quite a lot of pressure. The Man United fan base, you know, you're on socials a lot yourself, you'll see it's quite split in terms of how he's doing. What's your kind of thoughts on the progression under Ole, or lack thereof? Do you think he's taking us in the right direction, or do you think that, you know, the criticism that he gets from some quarters is fair?
Yeah, I think there has been progression. Obviously, the finishing second in the league this time, going one better. Obviously, really disappointing runners up in the Europa League, but getting to the final. I think Manchester United's different to other football clubs, where it is built on the tradition and the history of the club. And I think when Sir Alex left, it was always going to be pretty much an impossible job to take over where he left off. And obviously, I think David Moyes was brought in for someone to be at the club for a long period of time, but for one reason or another, it didn't work out. From the results weren't there, and the club felt that they had to move him on. And then after that, two world-class managers in Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, but it did seem like a little bit of a quick fix. They were never going to be there for a sustained period of time. And now Ole's there. I do think he is steeped in that tradition, steeped into the history, learnt from the master himself with the amount of time he spent under Sir Alex. And I do think the club is giving him time, and it is the right thing to do to try and build the foundations to put a special time in place. I think you remember when the great man Sir Alex took over, and he was under a lot of pressure for a period of time, but things came good in the end, and incredibly good. So I'd like to think Ollie will be given a little bit more time. I think next season's massive for him in terms of going that one extra step of winning a tournament, whether that be the Premier League, Champions League, at least an FA Cup. But I think it's imperative that he wins some silverware this coming season.
Yeah, of course it is, because you know this because you came through and you played there, and you understand that the United way, the DNA, the traditions, and at the end of the day, all of those things that people speak about, the end result is winning major trophies. That's, otherwise, what's the point? Really, it's what it's there for. Do you look at this squad? Pogba's looking at a new deal. Sancho's linked with coming in. Do you think this squad is good enough to win the Premier League, to win the Champions League, or do you feel that there are more reinforcements that are needed?
Yeah, I don't think it's ready. I don't think it'll win the Premier League if it stays how it is next season. But I think add 2 or 3 players to that, and I think it would be in a position to really challenge. The team more or less found itself at the top of the league halfway through this season by default more than anything else, with so many teams having really poor seasons at the start and dropping away. And United were there and had an opportunity to win the league, but didn't really have that strength in depth to go on and carry on and win it. And obviously City came through and showed incredible consistency. So I think if you add a world-class number 9 a world class centre half and maybe a creative player in the Sancho Grealish mould, then I think 3 players puts it in a position to really challenge next season on all fronts in the Premier League, Champions League, and obviously the cup competitions as well.
Yeah, and I think it's for everybody that's arguing over Ollie in, Ollie out. I kind of look at Ollie, and it's so hard for me because I've got so much respect for him as a player and what he did. The joy he gave me as a fan. I'm not convinced whether he can get us over the line for a major trophy, but if you give him the players, then we will know. Then we will have our answers, don't we? We then know whether he can deliver. I think the one thing that can't be denied is this question of does he have an adequate squad? And I don't think Pep Guardiola would win the Premier League with this Man United squad. There does need to be more quality throughout, and I just think it'd be interesting to see what kind of players come in this summer. And you mentioned that Jadon Sancho, heavy linked with him coming to the football club. When you look at Sancho, does he look like a Man United player to you?
I think it does seem like that. Obviously, when you look back to the old days, obviously with a 4-4-2 and 2 wingers in the team, he's the sort of player that you can see playing at Old Trafford that gets the fans off their seats, dribbles with the ball, incredible balance, and obviously the ability to score and set goals up as well. I think he would be a great addition. I don't think he had as good a season last year at Dortmund. It was a whole mess, the whole transfer situation last season in terms of the deal's done 1 minute, then it weren't. He ended up staying, probably wasn't completely happy about staying. But I certainly think he's someone that will add a lot to this Manchester United squad. Of course he would. He's a world-class player and a young English player as well, which obviously bodes well.
Yeah, it does. He's one of the, you said earlier, players you mentioned, Sancho strikes me as one of those individuals. And I know stats are not everything in football, but I've been researching this for months because there isn't anything out there. He's the first footballer ever, as far as I can tell, across Europe in his first from debut till now, so 3 seasons from being 18 till 21, to get over 20 assists, 3 seasons running in one of the top 4 leagues in Europe. And no matter who I look at, and I know it's a little bit different maybe for Giggs's era because stats weren't counted as well back in the early 90s, but I can't find anyone who's done it. Like, the Messis of this world, all the great creators before him. I'm not saying he's going to be better than those players, but I think it bodes well that sort of statistically and outputs level, he's already producing above and beyond these years. So I'm very excited about the prospect of him being a United player. And he operates on that right hand side, and on the left we have Marcus Rashford, who's away with England. Someone who, again, we know he's done great things charity wise over the course of the lockdown and everything along those lines. How do you rate Marcus Rashford? He's away with England. Is he the kind of player that could have competed for places in teams when you were playing, or do you think he's a little bit below that level?
No, I think he could definitely compete to get into the squad, to get into the team. Obviously, athletically, he's blessed with incredible pace, incredible change of direction, and obviously the way that he manipulates the ball. I think he's struggled at times this season. I think from the reports that you read, he's suffered with some injuries, played with injuries. I think he sort of gets pushed out to the wide right, playing in the number 7 position where he's nowhere near as comfortable as playing in the 11 or playing in the 9. I think he's got so much to offer. I think so much, we forget how young he is, and so much responsibility has been put on his shoulder, obviously along with Bruno Fernandes, to be the player, the catalyst to make things happen, to score goals, to assist goals, because he's done so much in such a short period of time. I think he's certainly someone who's going to hopefully end up a legend at Manchester United in terms of what, like you mentioned there, what he done off the pitch was incredible. And now going back on the pitch and doing his stuff on the pitch, I think the players that with him and Greenwood, 2 absolute world-class players that are coming through, and it just shows what the club does, and it just continues to churn out incredible young footballers for the first team, which is, again, part of the tradition of Manchester United.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Greenwood there. Just a shame he's not going away to the Euros. You mentioned Rashford's injury. I want to ask you a question as an ex-professional footballer. He's getting a lot of criticism at the moment, and so is Ollie, because he played through injuries. I'm kind of seeing a lot of people acting like this is sort of shock horror. I can't believe someone's being. Some people say he's stupid to do it, and others are suggesting that Ollie is kind of forcing him to do it. Is it normal in your experience for players to play through injuries? Is that a normal occurrence in football?
Yeah, it is it happens. I'm saying 90% of the time you're not 100% fit. Obviously, I was injured a fair bit throughout my career and played a lot of the games suffering with injuries here and there. I think as a footballer, you take responsibility. If you're telling the manager or you're putting yourself out on the pitch, then you still need to perform at a certain level. I'm sure what you want to do as a footballer, Marcus Rashford, you can see by the way he plays, he absolutely loves playing. So if he's got any chance of being out there on the pitch, I'm sure he's putting himself in the manager's mind saying, I can go and play. And obviously then it's the manager's decision, the medical staff position. But it's so hard to not select someone that wants to play because he is such an important player for the team. But I think at times he's been, whether it is an injury or maybe a bit of fatigue, because the amount of football he's played for such a young lad is mind-boggling, really. So maybe it's just that little bit of jadiness that's been in his game as well, and the games have sort of catched up with him a little bit, along with them maybe little niggles that he's had.
Yeah, and as you'll know, you've been there. It's been a very concertinaed season this year, so games have been less, less rest in between them, as an example. And as we've mentioned, the squad at Man United, we all know it needs improving. And you had those 3 or 4 extra players with quality. It gives you that opportunity to rotate more, to rest these players, as an example. But I want to ask that question about the injuries, because it's one of those things, making content like this on social media, fans have opinions on things, which of course we're entitled to. But a lot of our opinions are often based on what we think should happen, or we don't actually know what goes on behind the scenes. And it's always kind of been my view that a lot of players play through the injury barrier, and things like that. And as you say, it's their responsibility. It's not like, I'm sure for Sir Alex or Brian Kidd or any of the sort of assistant managers that were there at the time, they'll put a gun to anybody's head and say, you have to play. Oh, my ankle's hanging off, but you've got to play. I mean, I'm sure it's not like that, is it?
No, not at all. I think obviously at most clubs, the medical department, if there is a serious issue where someone's putting themselves at risk for being out for a real long period of time, the medical team will obviously say that this guy is not fit, he can't play. Usually it's, in my experience, there's not many footballers that won't play. If they've got the option, or they're 70% fit, but they can go out and do a job 90% of the time, that they'll go out and do that job and try and do their best for the team, because that's what they want to do. They want to play football. So it is a bit of obviously a moot point in terms of managers can be seen to be putting pressure on players. But I think as a footballer, you decide to go out on the pitch. No one can put a gun to your head and say you have to go and do this. Footballers are very well paid, regardless whether they're on the pitch or they're off the pitch injured. But like I say, in my experience, footballers want to play football because that's what they do.
Yeah, of course. And it's, as fans, football's here forever, really. For players, that you've got that finite amount of time, those years where you can play and operate. Once it's over, it's over. There's no going back. And it's not like you can have a career change and then in 10 years' time come back and start playing again. It's age catches up with all of us at some point, doesn't it? So it's important to get out there.
Yeah, cool. And I think that is it. In it, you're a long time retired, that's for sure. So I think it's a case of some players, that 10% might think that would be the reason, probably a little bit more sensible, that they're not fit, they can't do the job to their 100% potential, so they'll say they can't play. But I think the buck stops at the player at the end of the day, because if they're not right, they need to be strong enough to say they're not right to play, or they go and play and accept the criticism that sort of comes with it when you don't perform at the level that's expected of you, of what that you've done in the past.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. I think more responsibility on players is, I think it's kind of been eroded in recent times. It's always on the manager, and I've been guilty of doing that as a fan on a fan channel in the past. You always either manage this, the manager that. What about players? People stepping up and taking responsibility, knowing where they're at. It's very key. Speaking of top quality players, Paul Pogba, going into the final year of his contract, talks are going to take place at the end of the Euros, according to ESPN today, in terms of keeping him. In your view, is it imperative that he stays at Man United for us to progress? Or do you think that there could be benefits in selling him or allowing him to leave?
Yeah, if you ask me that question probably 10, 15 games into this season, I'd say it'd be better for all concerned if he left, sort of thing, and went on to pastures new. But then you don't know if he knows what he's doing. Obviously, a world-class player in the last year of his contract. has been fantastic, really, in the second half of the season. Probably the best form that he's ever showed in a United shirt. So he does look a hugely important part of the squad. A world-class player that when you've got a world-class player, you want to keep him, really, if you can. Obviously, there's been issues with his agent who's causes carnage everywhere he goes, really. But for me, he's a player that the club should try and keep and try and get a happy Paul Pogba. He's a world-class player, and I'm sure we'll see that in the Euros coming into the last year of his contract. I'm sure he'll be one of the top players. But I personally hope that he does stay, because despite the sort of the odd lazy performance, or probably plenty of them that we've seen at the start of the season and last season, now he looks like a Rolls Royce towards the end of the season, someone that you can build part of that team around. When you look at the likes of him and Bruno Fernandes, you'd probably say they are two genuine world-class players in the United team. And I think if you get a few more of them and the young players coming through turn into them, then you start winning trophies and you're thereabouts at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said about Paul Pogba. He's just, I got the sense that halfway through the season, I know he had some sort of injuries at the beginning part of it as well. He had the problems in around December. More so, Mino Raiola talking for me again out of turn. But he got his head down. What I love about Paul Pogba is that he gets his head down and he works hard. There's a lot of nonsense that gets written about him. A lot of things that I think are unfair in terms of the criticism he gets versus other players. But he got his head down and he worked hard for Man United. He was pivotal in so many games we won, especially around January and February time, winning goals, man of the match performances. And he's almost irreplaceable, because there are not very many midfielders in the world of his level that we could just go and buy, because most of them are at clubs that won't sell to Manchester United. So it comes for me, I would just simply say, pay him whatever he wants, whatever he needs, whatever he requires, because it's for me, I just think about it and think to myself, he's irreplaceable for me. I think he's great, and yeah, it'll show that again at the World Cup. There's a super chat here from Yusuf that says, I don't get the Rashford hype. To be honest, I don't think he would feature under Sir Alex Ferguson. Gifted players like Remy Moses, Keith Gillespie, Lee Sharp were all cast aside. Doesn't have the stardust like Greenwood or Pogba. What's your take on that, Luke? Yeah,
I think it's maybe a little bit harsh. I think if we remember how old he is, I would probably agree in terms of when you talk about the stardust of Greenwood, where I think Greenwood does offer a little bit more end product. I think Greenwood has got a little bit more of the X factor, the way that he can get in the box, manipulate the ball, and it's got the potential to score goal after goal after goal, the way that he plays. I think Rashford is more straight lines in terms of getting to the byline, getting crossing or cutting in and getting shots off. But I think Rashford does deserve to have some hype around him in terms of what he's done on the pitch since he burst onto the scene as a young kid, and then thinking about there's not many players at his age that have played the amount of games for Manchester United that he has. So I think he certainly deserves some credit for what he's achieved so far, and I'm sure go on to achieve more in the coming years.
Yeah, and listen, again, Keith, Lee Sharp, I'm sure that's someone you've met in and around footballer in the circuit over the years. These are all quality players. Like Rashford scored like 100 goals for Man, 100 career goals already as a footballer. I think there's that understanding of, do I think he's as talented as Greenwood and Pogba? No. Do I think he's better than the names there, the Remy Moses, the Keith Gillespies and Lee Sharps? Yes, I think he's in that in-between. And that seems to be the issue with football fans in the modern day era. It's either you're one thing or another. There is never this, well, yeah, you've given 10 out of 10s and 6 out of 10 players there. Well, maybe he's a 7.5. Is that okay? I don't know. It's a strange world we live in now.
Yeah, I think football, and I'm guilty of it as well, is we probably all make too many comparisons when they're all completely different players. They're all their own people, where we always want to compare one player to another player, and that sort of makes it easier in our mind. But I think it's so hard to compare players like that. Obviously, Lee Sharp, Keith Gillespie were incredibly gifted players, but went on to have really good careers elsewhere, where Rashford has probably got a little bit more in terms of the age that he's got, the athleticism that he's got, but only time will tell. It's just an opinion, isn't it? It's just all opinion.
Absolutely. What will create a lot of opinion this summer. We mentioned it earlier, is the Euros. And England go into these tournaments. We all do it. We won't win. And the closer it gets, you start thinking, hang on, could it be coming home this year? What's your thoughts on sort of the England squad selection by Southgate and England's chances this year?
Yeah, I think it was a strange selection in terms of when it came out the first one with the amount of right backs and whatnot. I think it is as gifted as England's squad as I've probably seen in my lifetime in terms of the attacking players that he's got at his disposal. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold got injured, and that the whole hoo-ha around that as well. And Ben White's coming was probably a bit of a surprise, but it shows that that is where you worry a little bit at the back, whether it's a back three or a back four. They're probably a little bit off what they've been in the past in terms of having that settled. There's a lot of the same personnel there that were at the World Cup before, but whether Maguire will be fit is one thing, and whether he can perform at a really high level is another. But it's like you say, it's this stage you're thinking, what can happen? Can they go on and bring football home, as we all hope and pray? But I think it's as open as it's been. I don't think one team really stands out as that much better than anyone else. So I think it's probably as tight-knit a teams as we've seen, and I'm sure we're all hoping that we can do something this time round.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the squad selections have been frustrating, even with Trent gets injured and Ben White's a talented fullback, but the centre back, I know he can play a little bit of DM, but I thought it was crying out for a Ward-Prowse to come in, especially with them set piece. When you've got 5 subs, you can almost do it NFL style a little bit, where you think, do you know what, we've got 10 minutes to go. Let's bring on one of the best set piece takers in the world. I mean, I never thought I'd say this. I actually think Ward-Prowse at free kicks is better, or at least on par with Beckham in terms of the amount he scores is unbelievable. I think his average per year is higher in terms of the free kicks scored than Beckham, which I never thought I'd be saying. And it's just not, when you can have 26 players, 3 more than normal, and 5 subs in a game, for me, it made sense to take him.
Yeah, and I think everyone thought that after obviously the performance he put in the last game, where his set pieces were on point more or less every time, which you sort of expect from him. I think everyone was expecting that Ward-Prowse would be on the plane, and Lingard had missed out. Ben White probably wasn't even in people's minds, but it does make you wonder if they have got real concerns about Maguire going into the tournament. Well, I don't see why Ben would have been taken. So it's it is a bit of a surprise. Like you say, Ward-Prowse is probably as close as we've ever seen to Beckham, and I'm sure he watched him closely as a kid and's got that similar technique. So it'll be again, only time will tell if Gareth made the right decision. But it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. What the team is, whether they play the back 3, whether they play the back 4, who are going to be them attacking players? Will he go for sort of the pace of Sterling and Rashford, or will it be the Grealishes, the Mounts? He's got some real fantastic options. And I think it is so exciting at the top end of the pitch, if a little worrying at the back end.
No doubt. I am going to put you on the spot here. Who's going to win it? Who's going to win the Euros? Who's your pick?
I'm the ultimate optimist. I'm going for England.
I love it. See, I love it. And why not? One thing I've noticed on socials is people have forgot how to be fans, where you blindly support who you support. And it's amazing. I love it. It's man, some people go, yeah, I want to support my team, but actually I don't think they're going to win it, so I'm not going to say them. Come on. We don't all have to try and be Andy Gray or Jamie Carragher, be the best pundits in the world. We can just say who we think. I love it. We've got 5 minutes of your time left. And I'd kick myself if I didn't ask you some things. Obviously, you came through at Manchester United. You played under Sir Alex Ferguson, who is just God for me when it comes to football. And I know you probably get asked all these questions so often, but what was it like being in the training ground every day, being around Sir Alex and those players? And what was the atmosphere like being in such sort of the mecca of football?
Yeah, it was obviously I signed for United when I was like 14 as a schoolboy, went through the academy as it is now, and then went on loan to Royal Antwerp when I finished my apprenticeship. And when I got called back is when I went into the first team squad, and I was like a real quiet, shy lad. And obviously I loved being on the pitch with these lads, but a bit intimidated in the dressing room, like keep me self to myself. And in Antwerp, I was one of the better players. At Man United, I obviously wasn't. And I remember my first training session that I went in there and I gave the ball away a couple of times, really sloppy. And Roy Keane just went at, like, calling me every name under the sun, let me know in no uncertain terms that weren't the standards there. And I was thinking, flipping hell, I weren't expecting that sort of thing. But it was real a steep learning curve. And, like, he was incredibly demanding, like Roy in particular, the whole squad was, but Roy in particular on the pitch. But sort of after that first training session, he was also so supportive at the same time and sort of took me to the side and explained to me exactly why he spoke to me like that. And that's what it's going to be like, because that's what it is here, because it's an elite environment and they want to win the game every Saturday. They want to win every Tuesday night. So it was certainly a steep learning curve, but like it was such an incredible environment to be around. Like the whole club was just built from the foundations, from Sir Alex, really, who had a hand in everything. And it was the culture of the football club was something, it was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
Something that kind of gets, again, scoffed at a lot on socials. There's a film out, named it now, but there are, I'll say it bluntly, there are a weird section of Man United fans that don't believe there is such thing as a United way or a DNA or a culture or an ethos that made them better, that contributed towards making them better. In your experience, you played at a number of other clubs, and of course, none of them were in at this sort of the top 4, top 6 sort of level of football. But is there such thing as an ethos and a culture that's just different from club to club you go to? Do you notice it when you walk into the door at any level? You go into this club and, oh, it feels very different to the last. Does that exist?
Yeah, Manchester United's the most incredible organisation, whether it be football club or whatever, that I've ever been part of. I went up there on trial as a 14-year-old schoolboy, really quiet, shy, was really nervous, didn't really want to go, was playing for Arsenal at the time, went up there, and the second that I stepped into that football club, I've never felt anything like it in terms of how you're treated, how people speak to you, how pleased everyone are to see how they'd have taken the effort to know your name and know who you are, how happy all the coaches and all the other players were to be there. It is something incredibly special, and it is without a doubt different to any other football club that I've been in or stepped inside before or after. Obviously, like you say there, they were never at the level of Manchester United, but it all came from the history of the club and the manager, the sort of the small steps that he'd do to treat everyone, whether it be the kit man, the dinner lady, or Roy Keane or Ryan Giggs, exactly the same well, because everyone wanted to run as hard as they can for him and work as hard as they can for him. And when you get everyone in any organisation working together and pulling in the same direction, that's a success that he cultivated and the club enjoyed over that period.
Yeah. I've never been at a football club. I've never been a footballer, but we've all worked in companies. You can go from one to another and you feel a difference in treatment, behavior, and often the places where you're treated better, people work harder, they're more dedicated. Yeah. They produce better results, and it's to act like these things don't exist. I do find it very, very strange. And I know it's kind of an intangible thing sometimes because it's lots of little things that, as you say, equate together. But the driving force, and I think this is one area where Man United have lost their way slightly, is I don't always think every decision at Man United has been designed to make us win things as opposed to maybe making money since Fergie retired. And hopefully under Ollie, that's changing. But Luke, I know you've got to shoot off. You've got to be somewhere else at 6 o'clock. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Terry. Take care, mate.
All the best. Cheers. Thank you very, very much. Luke, yesterday he's literally got another interview that he's got to jump into at 6 o'clock. But intriguing to listen to what he had to say, as come through the ranks, been a pro footballer and stuff like that. Thank you for the super chats that came through. We are going to open up the lines for you all to come on. By the way, thank you very much, my guy Jerry, for becoming a squad member of the Football Terrace. Means a great deal. Means a great deal to us here at the Football Terrace that you got that done. We are talking Paul Pogba's new deal. I want your views. I want your opinions on it. Sancho update given from Fabrizio Romano earlier on today. Rafael Varane update given as well. We're going to recap all that in a few moments for you to let you know what's going on there. But hit that like button, hit that share button. Here we go. Manchester United will hold talks with Paul Pogba over fears the midfielder is about to run down his contract. The The talks are set to take place after the Euros and are likely to focus on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans to bridge the gap with City and the rest of Europe. Fabrizio Romano has said that he feels it may not be a matter of days and it will take some time to complete, but for sure Manchester United are interested in Sancho and working hard to get him. And reportedly, Manchester United are in advanced talks to sign £38 million rated Argentinian defender Cristian Romero. All that and much, much more on the Football Terrace. Plus, we are joined by football royalty. Luke Chadwick is in the house with us tonight. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Here we go. Of course, we've already had Luke on with us. You can watch that back later. We spoke everything from England at the Euros, Rashford, Sancho coming to the club, Pogba's new deal, and a little bit of insight to his time at Manchester United. I do want to hear your thoughts. I do want to hear your feelings on things as well. Thank you, Star-Lord, as well, for becoming a squad member of the Football Terrace as well. Means a great deal to us here. Pogba isn't even better than John Joe Shelby, you know. Come on, my guy. You can do, if you're going to banter, do better banter. Make the banter better. Come on, you're better than that. Thank you very, very much, Monsieur. And we've got many, many, many more to come. I've got like a calendar up now on my whiteboard, getting the names plotted in. More to come on the terrace in that space as we move forward. So thank you. I'm going to share the link now for you to phone up and have your say about these deals today. I'm going to put it in the StreamYard call-in box on Discord. If you're not on our Discord server, if you're new to the Football Terrace, go and sign up to that link below. I'm going to go and share that right now over on Discord. I'm going to stick the link in so you guys can phone up. You can have your say about the transfer news today, what Fabrizio said, and everything else. Let's do some of these comments here. Terry's got the perfect voice for these scripts. I see why DT and many other companies and brands ask you to do voiceover work. I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really, really do. We're going to have Elite KJ on with us a little bit later. Have we done Pogba? Man United will be having talks with Paul Pogba after the Euros. They are concerned and worried that he could play down his contract, but they really want to understand where Paul Pogba sits. They really want to understand where Paul Pogba sits and what's going on with him, what he wants to do, because United need to get their ducks in a row as well. They will likely sell him if he doesn't want to sign a new deal, but their first and foremost priority is to get Paul Pogba to re-sign. That's where things are. First caller of the night we're going to go to is Fixer. Fixer, welcome back to the terrace. What do you want to say, bro?
Yeah, hi, Terry. How are you enjoying the summer?
It's nice, mate. It's very warm, but it's very, very good. It's never too hot, in my opinion. What are you here to talk about this afternoon, big man?
I just want to say, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me on this one, but Pogba, I mean, come on, like Pogba hasn't done anything for us, you know. Like really, like why are we fighting to keep him? If he wants to go, we should just sell him like straight away, like without hesitation. I mean, let's just talk facts, okay? Because Pogba is a divisive figure. He has his Pogba fanboys. You have people who don't. But let's talk facts. Apart from his first season, what has Pogba really done? Like, just like forget everything else. I know he's skillful and all that. He has, talent and all that stuff. But what has he actually done directly to propel the team to achieving any form of relative success? Like, I know he's not the only one. The team as a whole, falters at the last minute. But Pogba, a player like Pogba who costs that amount, should be the kind of player that has an influence such as Bruno Fernandes had with us. And Bruno only costs half the amount. Bruno dragged us from like obscurity to third, and then the next season contributed a lot. I know Pogba contributed as well, but not as much as Bruno towards getting second. But what I'm saying is, a player like Pogba should be doing way more. Like, look at the way he plays for France. I mean, that's what I think. Pogba is a continental player. Give him 5 weeks, 4 weeks in a tournament, and he'll probably win that tournament. But when it's a stretched out league, I don't think he has the discipline to keep up his performances for such a long period of time. And I just think, he's better off in PSG where everything is more relaxed, or Real Madrid or wherever. But for Man United, I just don't think he's the guy. Honestly, I don't.
Listen, Fixer, thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us there. Viewers, do you agree with Fixer that United should just get rid of Pogba with no hesitation. Thank you, Fixer, for coming on and having your say. Next up on the show, Ryan is with us. Ryan, welcome back to the Terrace. You remind everyone who you support? You are on mute if you're talking. Okay, Ryan's not ready to speak, so we will go instead to Ellie. Ellie is now with us. Welcome back to the... Yeah, what are you here to say, bro?
So let's talk about Varane.
Yeah.
Because like I'm a Chelsea fan, so Pogba staying at United is great and all, but Rafael Varane, look, I believe Man United can't win the league with defense of Maguire and Lindelof. I think Maguire is good enough. I'm not sure about Lindelof. So, but even if Man United do sign Varane, yeah, Terry, and even if Man United sign Sancho, and even if they sign Harry Kane, the main question will always be the manager.
Oh, of course it will. Of course it will. But I think we get a proper answer if he's. What I would love to see is everybody be almost completely happy with the squad, because it removes any conjecture, it removes any excuses, and I think for me that's what I want to see. Plus, I want the best squad possible, because at the end of the day, if we then go through a situation where we do sack Ollie and you bring in a better manager, you've got better players. You know, I wouldn't want to miss out on Varane just because I don't want to see Ollie manage better players, and then Poch or Conte or whoever comes in next, I'm just throwing names out there for the sake of it, he comes into an inadequate squad. So we have to build the best squads possible, regardless of who the manager is. But yeah, the jury's still out on as to whether or not Ollie can deliver from there. Absolutely. Ellie, thank you very much, mate, for having your say. Really appreciate that, bro. Top man. Next up, Tommy is here with us. Tommy, welcome back to the Terrace. What do you want to say, mate?
How you doing, mate? Long time no see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all good, mate. What do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say, like, you know, my stance with Ollie and all that. I just said, like, no matter who you bring in, I don't think Ollie can get the best out of them. But I think no matter if you sign Sancho or whatever, I think the main target, if I was in charge, would to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I think you can't rate the players you've got with him. I think it's difficult at the minute. Like, I know you can bring in Sancho, Varane and everything, but I don't feel like, even if he gets the best players in the world, he could win anything. That's just my opinion. But obviously, you wouldn't want to stop that because of the manager, obviously. Like, you want to get in the best players to have the best chance of winning trophies.
And I understand that. I think it's, I mean, ideally, what I would love this summer is a world-class manager and all these players. I don't want one just because I'm not getting the other. And so I do hear that. I also understand why some Man United fans will temper their excitement because they don't think there'll be an overall improvement. Tommy, thanks for coming on and having your say. Top man, nice to speak to you again. Next on the show, we're going to go to CFC Beast. What are you saying, Beast?
So today I want to talk about the Sancho links.
Yes, bro.
So obviously United are at the moment look like they're getting the player, but I just want to ask a quick question, and I want like an honest opinion from you. If Chelsea do get Haaland or whatever, do you think the Sancho signing is going to give you as much as a boost if Chelsea don't sign a striker? Like, if we sign Haaland, is the Sancho signing going to be as powerful if we don't sign him? Yes. So, like, say we sign Haaland now, is it possible?
I get your question now. Sorry, I just misinterpreted first of all. Yes, Man United, any improvement that we're going to have at Man United in terms of us, how we play, how we create, how we score, the points we generate, how we can do in competitions, Sancho improves us irregardless of what Chelsea do. And that's important for us to remember, to focus on ourselves. Now, is Chelsea's improvement going to be bigger than Manchester United if you sign Haaland? My view is maybe yes, because you're European champions. The second half of the season under Thomas Tuchel, you were fantastic, barring a couple of performances, which everybody's entitled to a few bad performances. So Man United's improvement won't be any less or any more based on who you sign. But relatively speaking, it may appear that we've improved less because Chelsea leapfrog us in the league because Haaland could strike you all the way to a title. However, we can't I don't know what to do about that. So if United are not in the running for Haaland, we've got to sign Sancho. It's a big signing for us. It's an important signing for us, and that's what we need to focus on. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I do.
Lovely, mate. Listen, thanks for calling in. Great question, though. I like questions like that. Top man. Thank you very, very much indeed. Next up on the show, we're going to go to, remember, we've got KJ coming very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that like button is being hit, by the way, and you're subscribing and turning on the bell notifications to the Football Terrace. We're going to get CFC Ed on the show now. What are you saying, buddy?
Yeah, hi, Terry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very, very good, thank you. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just want to say, I think United need to get that Sancho deal done as soon as possible, really, after the Euros, because think about it, they've taken quite a long time on this Sancho deal, if you include last year as well. So a similar situation might happen with the Varane signing or like a Pau Torres, which means, and you also need a central defensive midfielder. So Ollie might not get, all those targets promised, and you might rely on like a James Garner, for example, to come in as a CDM. And then Ollie ends up playing like McFred again next season, and
absolutely. And you know what?
He wants.
I get that. And regardless of how I feel about Ollie, that's not on Ollie. If the club drag their heels, listen, we know that most transfers are going to be done after the Euros. That's just a prerequisite of international when international tournaments happen with any given summer. So we know that. But if we don't get the right business in, then that isn't on Ollie. The problem we then have is we're then looking at a manager that most of us think is below par or awful or whatever it may be. Everyone's got a difference of opinion. But doing it with a squad that hasn't been improved enough is a recipe for disaster. So Ollie needs it, but more importantly, Manchester United fans and Manchester United Football Club need these signings as well. Thanks for calling in, Ed, and having your say. Really appreciate that, buddy. Going to KJ next after we bring on Zion. Zion's here with us. What are you saying, buddy?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you. Yeah, what do you want to say, buddy?
Just to say about the Sancho deal and obviously the Haaland. The Sancho deal, from what I'm looking at right now, from listening, it's just done. It's a done deal. Let's be real, because personal terms aren't a problem, because those weren't a problem last season. Last summer. The only problem was the money that United were going to put forward to Dortmund, and Dortmund obviously now asked a lower, price this year, which obviously looks at Sancho's contract, which he's only got 2 years left on his current deal, so fair play to them. And so it makes sense, and I think, in my opinion, it's a done deal. I don't even need to say, oh, it's almost happening. It's a done deal for me. And for Haaland, massive reports. I mean, I think about it, if you look at it, everywhere I'm looking right now, behind the scenes, Chelsea are basically looking at 3 players they want to do in a swap deal to get Haaland through. They're willing to get 3 players. I mean, I might be wrong here, but they are players that the ones that I've heard mentioned are probably like Ziyech, Pulisic, and Tammy Abraham. Possibly those 3, and then probably a bit more money to get Haaland's deal over the line. But the only issue we're having here is, I think, in my opinion, will be Raiola. What he wants. And Haaland, I think, wants about 300,000 a week over the 5 seasons. I don't know if it is a 5-year contract, 6-year contract, if he wants to sign. But yeah, like I said, it's just it depends on the wages and of Raiola's commission. So
yeah, absolutely. But there's the report here in the same report from ESPN, which is what's really, really key. There's been no firm contact from any of Europe's major clubs to try and sign Paul Pogba. Real Madrid, Barca, Juve, none of them have come in. There's question marks whether or not they can afford him without sort of including players as part of the deal. I think where Man United are at is that they just need to. The conversation is, Paul Pogba very much has gone into kind of tunnel vision mode now, getting himself ready for the Euros, a big tournament for France, and he won't now speak about this until after this point. Probably a good thing for Man United, because it enables those big clubs that have said they're interested in Paul, who haven't made inroads, to kind of get their ducks in a row, sort out their finances, and look at really and truly what they want to do. Because that's what, if none of those clubs come in for him, then Man United find themselves in I wouldn't say a difficult position, but it's that case of, right, well, we either time to a new deal or we risk losing him next summer for free, which is what some of those other clubs might be waiting for. And that's where Man United could find themselves in a bit of a difficult situation. You almost need a Barca, a Madrid, or a Juve to want to sign him this summer and to make an offer, because otherwise Pogba just might ride out the rest of his contract. And Paul Pogba's well entitled to do that. There's no frustration with him in that part, because if United haven't made it a desirable place for him to want to stay, for him to want to play his game, then that's part of the course. But it's going to be an interesting next few weeks in relation to what happens in that deal, especially as I think Paul Pogba is going to have a good tournament as well. Zion, thank you as ever for coming on and having your say. Really appreciate that. We've got Slens backstage coming on soon. Before that, man like KJ is in the house with us here. KJ, what you saying, buddy?
Yo, this Paul Pogba thing, yo, fam, he just needs to run out his contract. I'm just gonna be honest here. Like, I don't see Man United selling him this summer. I don't see a club wanting to buy him this summer, and I don't see Paul Pogba wanting to stay. So I think both parties need to be like, right, just give us one more summer, one more season, sorry, and you're good to go. I would love Paul Pogba to stay, but is the club really in a position to let that happen? His wages are really high and already, and they're gonna want more wages if he stays. So it's one of those ones where, like, Man United, is it time to move on from PP? Not because he's a failure or flop like some people like to make out to be. Like Fixer earlier said, or what has he done to bring us some kind of success? Yo, fam, we've won last two or three choices with Paul Pogba in it. He scored in one of the finals. He got player of the tournament. He got player of the he got team of the tournament in that competition as well. So to say that he's done nothing for his club is an absolute fallacy. But it is time, I think, it's time to let him go and flourish and do what he wants to do. And it's time for Man United to look to find a way to rebuild the midfield. Like, because everything's been hinging on, Paul Pogba. But it's clear that he doesn't want to stay. And that's me saying this as someone who loves Paul Pogba and want to see him do well at Man United. But I just don't feel like the club have given themselves any position to do that. So it's probably best to let him leave.
Yeah, look, I agree with him wanting to. The thing is, we all can't. It's funny, really, because I've watched a few streams in the last few days. I've listened, like, been on Twitter reading what people say, and there's a lot of people getting frustrated with, managers and players again at Man United and what we're going to do next year. It's like people have forgotten who runs us again. It's almost like they've become. It's become a because it isn't in the media every day. The owners, the clubs, the boards, Super Leagues, everybody's forgotten about them again. And the way I feel about Man United, I can understand when a player says, I don't want to be there anymore, because Man United could part of the conversation that's going to happen when they sit down with Paul is, this is our plan, these are the players we're signing, this is the direction we're going in. It comes down, it's an interesting one for me. If Paul commits, that sends a message that things are going on that he's bought into. If he doesn't and he leaves, that just says, it doesn't mean they're not doing those things, but it's that Paul's lost faith in the project that is Man United. And Paul's got every right to walk away, because he's got 5, 6, 7 years max left at the elite end of the spectrum because of his age. So he has to make that. He has to make a decision that's best for him. He has to be selfish in this, like every other single person in this world, when it comes to making business. This is a business decision and a career decision, as opposed to a passionate football. He can't make it with his heart. He has to make it with his head and his gut. Where is the best place for me? He may still sign at Man United, and he may want to remain as part of it. And I think we're right to speak to him about it. But if he says in the first meeting, look, I don't have the intentions to, then we need to already have worked out an exit strategy, whether it's we let him run down his contract and let him go for free, or whether it's, we let him go this summer and we look at some kind of deal for him. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I did want to get your take as well quickly on the Rafael Varane situation. 9 million offered by Real Madrid. We've offered 12 million. What do you think is going to happen?
I think he leaves Real Madrid but doesn't come United. I think PSG could match that. Chelsea could match that. And again, we're talking about projects and players coming in and believing in it. What is it to say that Varane will believe in Man United? He's not a known Man United fan. Like, he's not someone that's grew up with Man United as the team that he wants to play for, like a Bruno, because he's said multiple times that he loved Man United, he loved Cristiano Ronaldo and whatnot. I just feel like this Varane one is it's one of those links that I'm happy that we're linked to him and we're trying to get him. But if we don't get him, I won't be too upset or too vexed, because at least we're showing like we're trying to do something in the market and get a quality centre back. But I just don't feel like Varane will take that option. I personally see PSG being his destination. He's going to go back home. They've got the funds, they've got the money, they've got the team to challenge for a Champions League. We don't necessarily have that right now. And I feel like that's for a lot of players, that's the question at hand. Paul Pogba is one of those players as well. Like, if he leaves Man United, cool. But where is he going to go to? That's that guarantee that what he's looking for. Because Real Madrid need a rebuild. Barcelona need a rebuild. Juve need a rebuild. Like most of world football is in a state right now as in the top clubs.
It is.
So it's going to be interesting to see where people go.
I do get that, but generally speaking, the Juves, the Real Madrids, the Barças, they rebuild quick and keep winning. It's that's the advantage they have over. We've been rebuilding and recycling since since May 2013, and we're still doing it nearly 10 years later. So I think those clubs have the advantage there. Some breaking news, just very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, that's come out in the last hour or so. Arsenal fans, it doesn't read good. We have some big Arsenal updates for you later, not specifically about players, but about the current situation at Arsenal. So make sure you're tuning in tonight to the Done Deal Show, episode 1 with myself and Dean Jones. But Eduardo, that was on yesterday, is quoted this. This is from the AFCB Bell. It said that Arsenal and Arteta appreciate Hassan Aouar. However, the players' camp have said they want a club with Champions League football. And on top of that, Arsenal have said they have other priority targets ahead of him. At the end of the window, goes a deal at the end of the window cannot be ruled out, and they're the reports. So what that's saying to me is, Aouar's saying, no, I want Champions League. Arsenal clearly want him, otherwise they wouldn't have inquired. But they're going to look for other options because he's saying no. But if by the end of the window, Arsenal haven't found anyone and Aouar hasn't been offered a deal, it might get done. It's like, it's almost like, like, you've ever seen them pacts that have been made where people say, listen, if you and me are both single still at 45, so we just get married, so we've got companies.
Yeah.
One of them ones there. And I'm sure these kind of deals happen in football. That's from Eduardo Haig. He was on the show yesterday.
That's from AFC Bell. I saw that on the timeline. And it's one of those ones that Arsenal fans shouldn't be surprised, really, in terms of the state of your club as well. It's not in the best state right now. And no Champions League football to cover over that. It's going to be difficult to attract these players that may have wanted to come to you 2, 3, 4 years ago. Because he was willing to join with Europa League football, but now you've got none, and he wants his Champions League. So it's no shock, really, that that's come out. And
just ladies and gentlemen, it's coming out tonight, 9 p.m. Make sure you're listening, ladies and gentlemen. We cover off all of the top 6. A little bit on nothing on Liverpool today, actually. I literally ran out of time. It was a great conversation. Major updates from Manchester City and pursuit of a certain England star. Big updates on Manchester United and Jadon Sancho. Big updates on Chelsea striker options, both Lukaku and Haaland. Big updates on Tottenham with both Harry Kane and the manager situation that's going on there, and a potential alternative to Antonio Conte. And Chelsea fans, on top of that, aside from the 2 strikers you're looking at, there is a link. There is a link to a massive potential midfield signing for Chelsea, all to be revealed tonight exclusively on the Football Terrace. And make sure you were tuning in. Yusuf here says, Paul loves United. This is not the United led by Fergie with Scholes, Keane, and United is playing with Fred and McTominay, for fuck's sake. I think if you show ambition and sign Varane and Sancho, he might buy into that. There's hopes. And that is true. That is also true. But this is where it becomes a package. Equally, it could work in reverse, and this, I'm not being funny. You might have a little bit of a conversation going on this summer in the French camp where Paul and Varane speak, and it's like, listen, I'm going to make it a bit more layman's, but it could be along the lines of, if you re-sign, I'll come. If you come, I'll re-sign. There could be an element of that, maybe a bit Sancho and Rashford-esque, if you get what I mean. You never quite know. Is Ollie then good enough to get us over the line? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. But at the very least, you've got them on new deals and you've got a great base for the new manager to come in.
Terry, question. Yep. Do you think there will be the contractual parting gift of Woodward messing up one of these deals?
Always, of course, bruv. Like I wouldn't put it. Do you know what I always find? You know, whenever you watch like the Chuckle Brothers, or you watch, I'm trying to think of a film where it happens all the time. You know, like there's sometimes certain shows or films where it always goes wrong. Keenan and Kel, you know, like comedy shows where there's always a klutz in it. No matter what's going on, you know they're going to mess. Like I'll give you a better example: Scooby-Doo. Whatever the plan is to catch the ghost, they always mess it up. Do you know what I mean? They end up catching the in it, but they always make a mistake. I think with our the way we run and where we operate, that's what I'm jaded to. That's what I believe, and I hope this summer they prove us wrong.
Yeah,
KJ,
that's why when people are saying, "Oh, Sancho's on and finished and it's done," I'm like, "Nah, you forget who we're dealing with." Like,
of course, there's a comment here actually that says, "Terry, why United always focus on Sancho? Because at the end of the day, it will not happen. So please don't keep your eyes on Sancho anymore. You're just wasting time." My brother, that just isn't true. Could it fall through? Yes, but in terms of like wasting time, absolutely not. Our job is to aggregate the news and to talk to you guys about it. KJ, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro. Top man. Thank you. Next up on the channel, we've got man like Slens in the house. Slens, what you saying, brother? You're on mute if you're trying to talk. Maybe he's busy. I don't know where he's gone. We'll put him backstage again, maybe get him back on a bit. We're going to go to Mohammed, one of our members here. What you saying, bro?
Hello, Terry. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. What you saying, buddy?
Yeah, I just want to talk a bit about Paul Pogba and Varane. Well, I think it depends. If Pogba stays, I do actually see Varane coming to United, but obviously vice versa. So it all depends on Pogba staying for Varane in order for him to come.
Interesting take, and a lot of people have said they're not that enthused by these signings because they still don't believe Ollie's good enough. What's your view on that take from people?
Well, he's in the last year of his contract, so just give Ollie what he wants and see what he does with a really good squad. And if he doesn't deliver, you're not going to lose anything because his contract expires next year, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be a good idea for United to do that, because then you can always get someone else in with a better quality manager like a Poch or something like that.
I hear you. Listen, Mohammed, thanks for coming on and having your say, mate. Really appreciate it, bro. Top man. Thank you. Slens, I think, is with us. I saw him unmute and then remute. That means he's there. Slens, what you saying, bro? Oh, we might have some signal issues here. I can't quite hear you if you're trying to talk. We're going to go to the Satan's favorite devil instead. Sorry, Slens. Satan's favorite devil. What you saying, bro?
Yo, how you doing, Ter?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. What's on your mind, young man?
Yeah, so, but quick side note on the Donny van de Beek situation. I don't think it's really that deep. I feel like he's been given this season to accommodate to this, the different atmosphere that he's been put to in the Premier League. It's the same thing that's happened to Frankie de Jong at Barca, Matthias de Ligt at Juve, Hakim Ziyech at Chelsea. The only difference is with those players, they've been seeing the struggle firsthand on the pitch, and the fact that fans are slating Ollie instead of Donny just shows you how much of a good job he's made to protect the man from public opinion. On the Paul Pogba situation, congrats, Terry. That's really great. On the Paul Pogba situation, I feel like the manager has been very, very hesitant in terms of where he's been deploying him. We've seen lately he's been trying to play him as a part of a diamond, try to play him in a front three. I feel like his output would be replaced if you go when you get in a Jadon Sancho, for example. And there have been many contingency plans put in place with Donny, with the possibility of signing Sancho. You've got also Ahmad and Anibal, the academy, who will be given their opportunity, and plans have been slated for them. I don't think Pogba is the kind of midfielder that Ollie wants, and that's why he's been playing him in more advanced positions. And if you take in consideration as well, he's had ankle issues and injury problems for the past 2 seasons, and it doesn't feel like it's going away. So this could be Pogba basically looking to leave Manchester United because the Premier League is maybe too intense and you might need to go somewhere else where he can keep playing his football and basically harness these injury issues. But yeah, it will be a big loss. But I think there are contingency plans put in place. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. If you replace Paul Pogba with a Declan Rice, for example, that would be for me like what we need.
Well, and that's why the club need to look to sell if he doesn't want to stay, as opposed to letting run it down, to raise those funds to enable us to invest. I mean, him leaving still helps because once the salary goes, that's millions of pounds of income saved per year. But one thing again that will be revealed tonight at 9 p.m. is the Declan Rice situation. And what I'll slightly reveal now is Declan Rice, no matter who's inquiring about him, including Chelsea, is asking for obscene amounts of salary. Amounts of salary. So that'll all be released a little bit later. Listen, Satan's favorite devil, thanks for coming on and having your say. Top man. Thank you. And everyone who subscribed recently, we've passed 193,000 subscribers. We're on the road to 200K. Hopefully we can do that over the course of this summer. If you haven't subscribed to the Football Terrace yet, if you're watching now on YouTube, make sure you do that and click the bell button next to it so that you get notified when we go live. Another way of getting notified is by signing up to our Discord server. The link is below for that. Also, if you're watching over on Twitter, that's amazing. But get yourselves across to the Football Terrace YouTube page and get yourself subscribed. Get that done right about now, my wonderful, wonderful people. So thank you to everyone that's made that possible. We're gonna do a couple more callers here. We've got Pav on next. Pav, obviously a Man United fan. What are you saying, bro?
Yeah, I've been listening about Pogba, Varane. If we're a serious club, we should be keeping Pogba. We should be signing Varane. But we all know as fans that's not the case. I know we're owed money from other clubs. I know like Inter money. We waived off a load of loan fees. Like we should be going out there collecting this money. Like you remember that show, the bailiffs one? If you can't pay, we'll take it away. We need to be knocking on these people's doors, bro. If they can't pay the money, we need to be taking their gear away. Like if we've got money to be owed to us, we should be getting deals done. Like Pogba definitely needs to sign a new contract. I don't know what Fixer was on about. Saying that he hasn't done nothing, but since Cavani's coming, since Bruno's coming, since we've been improving our squad, he's been playing better, and he's only going to get better if we keep adding more quality to the team. And if we have someone like Varane, that's a very solid partnership with Maguire. But it all depends if he wants to come to us. I still believe he'd rather play in Europe. I don't think England's like his main destination, but I would love to have him. If not, I don't know who else is available. I don't think Pau Torres is it. When I watched him in that was the only game I watched him in this whole season, in that Europa final. He doesn't seem quick, and it seems like he run out of steam. He kept going, but he run out of steam really quick. And he was literally like, his legs were like jelly when it come towards the end of the game, going into extra time. But he is young, but I don't think he's quick, and it doesn't make sense to have him partnering Maguire. We need a quick centre-back with very good defensive qualities. I don't know who else is there. Like you said, Koundé looks like he's going to probably stay in Spain. I don't know what the club's looking at. But, yeah, I mean, Sancho, I'm not getting excited because a lot of the excitement got taken away last year, but once he does sign, I'll be happy. I'll be raving about it. But I'm more worried about getting like a centre midfielder and definitely a centre back. Yeah, hopefully this club's kind of moves quick, but I don't know.
Yeah, we know how hard that is. We really do. Listen, Pav, great call, great points as ever, mate. Thanks for coming on and having your say. Really appreciate that, big man. Thank you. Gunner King here says, hi, Terry. It was a great chat the other day about the Buendia situation. We should chat later today about the Arsenal news you have. Absolutely. So the video will come out at 9 o'clock, and then we will do, whether it be the same evening or tomorrow, we'll do some chats about it. We'll share the clips. We'll talk through it in detail because there's so much to unpack. It's There's a lot of information to come out about multiple clubs, and we will timestamp it and we'll allow people to go to the stories that they're most interested in. Remember, this is episode 1. It doesn't quite look how we want it to yet. Visually, it will change over the next week or so with different graphics and intros, but really excited to get the Done Deal Show episode 1 out to you. Everyone who's tuned in this evening, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. All of our new subscribers, thank you. Everybody that's hit that like button, everybody that's retweeted, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.